Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the life of Sadhu Sundar Singh, a really remarkable story.
Absolutely. A life filled with paradox, born into wealth, but choosing this life of, well, intense simplicity.
Right. Born 1889, Ludhiana, Punjab.
Yeah.
Influential Sikh family background.
And yet his path took him so far from what was expected that dedication just transcended everything.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our goal here isn't just the biography. We want to understand the impact. We're focusing on two key things, really. First, that absolutely stunning teenage conversion experience.
Which was incredibly severe in its context, yeah.
And second, his revolutionary approach to outreach, this Indian style he developed.
And that's what's so crucial, I think. His journey forces us to look at how faith, or any big idea really, crosses cultural lines. He was pushing against, the dominant colonial ways of thinking in the early 20th century. We'll dig into how he consciously rejected that framework and the kind of intense, sometimes violent opposition he faced because of it.
Especially in those really tough areas like Tibet and Afghanistan.
Exactly, those hard-to-reach places.
And that opposition, it really highlights his courage.
Yeah.
Because before he was the Sadhu, well, he had everything. Wealthy family, powerful connections, raised very strictly in Hindu-Sikh traditions.
Our sources point to his mother being key there, sending him to a guru, really grounding him in that world.
Which makes his initial stance toward Christianity even more striking. Yeah. He wasn't just indifferent, he was hostile.
Actively hostile, burning Christian scriptures in public as a teenager. That's quite a statement.
It really is. He was a vocal opponent.
And that act, that burning, it sets up the sheer drama of what came next, doesn't it? This intense spiritual crisis he hit.
By 15, yeah. The sources describe this deep despair. He was searching, really searching for the true God.
Desperately searching, to the point where he gave himself an ultimatum. Find God in 48 hours
or end his life. It wasn't just intellectual curiosity. It was like existentially urgent for him.
Totally. And that intensity, that desperation, it led directly to the turning point.
That night, right at the brink, he described having this direct, powerful vision of Christ.
Not just a thought, but a vision, something undeniable.
And it completely flipped his world, instantly. From active hostility to, well, total devotion.
Just like that, overnight.
But the consequences, they were immediate and severe.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't some private realization he kept to himself. He went for public baptism.
And the reaction from his community, his family, the source calls it kank akampidari. Deep astonishment, but really meaning intense opposition.
Severe opposition is right. He was disowned, cut off, lost everything, family, inheritance, social standing.
Instantly an outcast. Facing real physical threats sometimes from people who've known him his whole life.
And we need to be clear for you listening what that kank akampidari meant practically. It wasn't just disapproval. It was total ruin, socially and financially. He was thrown into complete vulnerability.
Yeah, it forced him onto a path of relying only on himself, or rather on his newfound faith.
The courage required for that. To listen to that inner voice when it costs you literally everything. That's the core lesson right there.
It really is. The highest price for conviction.
And that rupture, that break, pushed him straight into the next phase of his life, his work as an evangelist. He started traveling constantly, all over India, eventually even places like China, Japan.
But how he traveled, how he presented himself, that was the key, wasn't it? His method.
That's the Indian style, the Paratyandas.
Right. Can you break down what that actually meant compared to how things were usually done then?
Okay, so think about the context. Early 20th century India. Christian missions were often heavily tied to British colonial power. You'd see Western missionaries, Western clothes, maybe speaking English, representing foreign institutions, foreign money.
The whole package felt alien to many.
Exactly. Sundar Singh rejected all of that. He adopted the persona, the identity of a sadhu.
A Hindu holy man, an ascetic, living in poverty, constantly moving, on pilgrimage.
Yes. And this was genius, really, because the sadhu was a figure everyone in India understood and often respected, regardless of their specific beliefs.
It bypassed the colonial baggage immediately.
Completely. The sadhu represents vairagya, detachment from worldly things, and yatra, that constant journeying. It gave him instant credibility. He wasn't seen as some paid agent from overseas. He was seen as a genuine spiritual seeker who'd given up the world.
That's such a critical distinction.
Yeah.
And it brings up a point for you, the listener, to think about. Sundar Singh understood that the medium shapes the message. How do you share important ideas or beliefs today? Do you package them in a way that respects the receiver's cultural context, or do you impose an external, maybe even distrusted framework?
He chose contextualization. He realized that deep change has to happen within a culture, using its own language, its own symbols. While some missions were building Western-style churches, he was using local hymns, local philosophical ideas.
Framing his message not as a foreign replacement, but maybe as a fulfillment of existing spiritual hopes.
Precisely. Using the Bharatiya Andaz was the only way he felt he could truly connect.
But choosing that Sadhu identity, while it gave him access, it also put him in immense danger, right? Especially in remote places.
Oh, absolutely. We have to remember the sheer physical difficulty of where he went. The Himalayas, Tibet, Kashmir, Afghanistan.
Traveling there in the 1910s, 1920s, incredibly dangerous, even without any opposition.
Exactly. Miles from any help, any protection. And the social and political danger was often even greater. He faced constant resistance, being kicked out of places, physical attacks. That patharbazi, the stone pelting, was apparently quite frequent.
Wow.
Yeah, whenever his message seemed threatening to the local powers or beliefs. He wasn't preaching comfortably, he was right there on the edge of conflict.
There's that specific story from Tibet, isn't there? In the Ranthbhoomi police area.
Yeah.
He was attacked while bathing.
Yes. Stoned while bathing.
Because? Why? It seems so random.
Well, according to the source, the local belief was that truly holy men, gods like Sadhu, just didn't need to bathe. Yeah. So seeing him bathe was, in their eyes, proof he was a fraud, a failure of the ascetic ideal they expected. And they reacted violently.
A cultural misunderstanding leading directly to patharbazi. That's incredible.
It really shows the kind of cultural minefield he was navigating.
But his reaction is the key part. What did he do?
That's what's remarkable. The source says he maintained his composure, Sanyam Nahi Chora. He didn't lash out, didn't run away.
He just absorbed it.
It seems so. He continued on his path. And if you look at his whole life, that seems to be the pattern. Don't flee opposition, but meet it with, well, spiritual strength. He saw hardship almost as part of the process, not a reason to stop.
Okay, let's move towards the end of his story. Or the end of what we know of his story. It's shrouded in mystery, isn't it?
It is. After all those years of travel, all that hardship, his final chapter is uncertain.
What does that ambiguity mean for how we understand him?
Well, in 1929, he set off on another journey, heading towards the Himalayas. A final pilgrimage, it seems. He was seen starting the trek. And then, nothing. He was never seen or heard from again.
Just vanished.
Vanished. No known grave, no final record. And that lack of a neat ending, it adds this powerful symbolic layer. His whole life was this constant pilgrimage, this movement. His disappearance kind of reinforces that image. He just kept walking beyond where we could follow.
His life really does show, doesn't it, that deep commitment isn't about comfort. It's about constantly listening, dedicating yourself, and just walking. As the sources say, it's about hearing, dedication, and walking.
And his strength to endure the loneliness, the persecution, it clearly came from relying on something beyond just his own physical limits.
That reliance on the unseen, it seems central to everything he did.
Absolutely. It's the framework for his resilience. His life is sort of an object lesson in continually trusting that inner guidance, that divine support. It's like that idea in Psalm 123, always looking towards God, trusting that allows you to reach heights you couldn't otherwise. He combined huge spiritual goals with incredible physical endurance.
Okay, let's do a quick recap for everyone listening. We talked about that shocking conversion, the vision, losing his family and status.
Then his unique Bharatiya Andaz, that Indian style of outreach, deliberately stepping outside the colonial norms.
And finally, the immense challenges he faced, the physical danger, the social rejection, the patharbazi in places like Tibet.
The main takeaway, I think, is about intentionality. How crucial it was that he chose a method, a form that resonated deeply within the context he was working in.
Right. Form and function had to align for his message to land.
Exactly.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. The source describes his legacy like this: taking a small step for the Lord, but a step filled with faith. That is what becomes great. Now, given his radical choice to contextualize his message, becoming a sadhu to connect, to bypass that colonial distrust, what kind of radical contextualization, what Indian-style approach might be needed in your field today? How can you share complex or challenging ideas in a way that truly respects your audience's framework, even while potentially shifting their perspectives?
It's a powerful question. How do you build bridges, not walls, when communicating something vital?
Something to think about as you continue your own journey.